Hello, DeMatha Nation, and welcome to our 75th anniversary DeMatha Speaker Series. My name is Ben Fleri, DeMatha Class of 2011, and current staff member here at DeMatha. I'm joined today by fellow staff member Connor Glowacki, who will be helping me conduct today's interview with actor, screenwriter, producer, and director Daniel de Weldon, a DeMatha Class of 1989. Daniel has starred and featured in many roles on stage, in television, and in film. De Weldon has been honored with over 50 Top Critics' Choice and has featured on NPR for his outstanding acting performance. One of his latest projects is a feature film, The Elephant Ride, that is from an original screenplay that Daniel co-wrote, in which he will star as billionaire Bradley Goldman, a young man stricken with cerebral palsy who hires Los Angeles' top high-performance Lamborghini limo driver, Vincent Viasso, to help him chase the love of his life to Las Vegas in the hopes of marrying her. The film is based on a true story. Now, Daniel is the son of famous sculptor Felix de Weldon, known for the famous Marine Corps War Memorial statue of the flag raising at Iwo Jima, which is the official United States presidential busts of John F. Kennedy and Harry S. Truman, just to name a few, as well as thousands of other art pieces that he completed throughout his 96th year. In addition, Daniel will be playing the role of his father in a biopic that is labeled Monumental. So looking forward to that as well. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our special guest and fellow DeMatha alumni, Daniel de Weldon. Good afternoon, Daniel, and thank you so much for joining us today. Now, before we kind of get started, just kind of want to see how you're doing and how your life has been kind of since the pandemic has started. Have there been any adjustments or changes that you've had to deal with kind of in your working life for the past 18 months?
Absolutely, yes. It's been quite an adjustment in that I lost 3 jobs that I was supposed to start right at the beginning of the pandemic. And so it kind of threw me off the radar for a bit, but back up and running and better for it and exhilarated and excited to get back to work. And certainly you mentioned a couple of the projects that I'm working on. So yeah, it's been, if there's ever a sense the strongest shall survive, this was one of them. To each their own. We're all dealing with it in one way or another. But yeah, it's been quite a journey, and so much learned, and now back up on the horse and back working. So yeah, that's kind of been my adjustment.
Awesome, and we're delighted to have you on today. So kind of want to take you back to your DeMatha days. Now, kind of want to know what inspired you to become an actor, producer, screenwriter. Was it something that you knew that you wanted to do maybe during your time at DeMatha or beforehand or afterwards? How did that kind of passion for acting and screenwriting, how did that come about?
Yeah, good question. Well, I think I was toiling around with certainly being an artist just in the shadow of my father when I was at DeMatha. And I was headed to RISD, Rhode Island School of Art and Design, to study sculpture. And I yielded to acting. I went to an acting class, I think when I was around 19 or 20 in Los Angeles. And I just got inspired. I just sat in the class and it just spoke to me, and it never stopped since then. But I was initially inspired to be an artist just on the coattails of my dad being a sculptor and an artist. Mm. And so, yeah, that was my inspiration. Yeah.
Dan, you probably get this question a bunch, but are there any specific actors, producers, directors whose work you were inspired by or looked up to when you're growing up and carving out your career?
Yeah, that's another good question. Boy, there's so many. I mean, I think Steven Spielberg, he's kind of the cornerstone of filmmaking and directing and storytelling, because I think he truly embodies the full human experience and still keeps in mind the hope, at the end of the journey. And certainly, in this business, it's hard to break into the business. It's hard to keep working. It's hard to be consistent. And sometimes, even for me speaking, I've taken on roles that have been very controversial and very intense. But in my scope of following the likes of a Steven Spielberg in terms of getting roles that support that kind of storytelling. So he's always been an inspiration to me. I feel like he is the godfather of filmmaking, and I think he sets the standard. So yeah, he's always been my main go-to, and certainly actors, Al Pacino, Meryl Streep, Denzel Washington, to name a few, have always been inspiration to me as much.
Yeah, those are some great names right there.
Thank you,
So
guys.
wanted to kind of talk a bit about the biopic coming up. So Monumental that you're putting together. So you're going to actually be playing the role of your father. So this must be, very exciting for you, something that you've probably been looking forward to do for a while. Can you kind of maybe talk about that project a bit and kind of how that came up as well?
Sure. Well, just to stand correct, I hope to be in the movie playing one part of my father. There'll be four
Okay.
stages of my father's life in the film, when he's a young boy, an adolescent, a young adult, and then an older man. And the part of which it will take off from the age of 53 until the end of my father's life, which he died at 96, will likely cast a very big Hollywood name to play that part. We're actually in talks with a few now.
Oh, wow.
But I hope to play, maybe the young man part of him for a bit in the film, if it works out that way. But yeah, the biopic is well on its way. We're literally in a final negotiation right now. It finally got optioned. I can't say the name yet, but this particular producer just won the 2021 Emmy Award for producing and writing just this year. We got the script to her, and she's now signing on to option it. And so yeah, it's moving forward in that regard from that placement now. And very excited, as you said. Yeah, it's been long in coming, a lot of writing, a lot of editing. We've had the script out to everybody in Hollywood and companies in Europe as well. And finally, we have someone's taken the bait, so to speak, and it looks like it's going to get produced. So we're very excited about that.
Daniel, that's really exciting to hear. And
Thank you.
kind of going off top of that, yesterday was Veterans Day. How did your father feel about the Iwo Jima Memorial, creating it? Obviously, it's one of the most popular in America's parks, represents so much to the history of our country. Did he ever shed light to you on that?
Certainly he has. I mean, interestingly enough, most of the information, my father was very transparent in his in his emotions about the work, and certainly it's been publicized, but certainly personally with me, same as which was publicized. He just that piece was so personal to him because, as you may know, my father was a war refugee in which he was received by Canada in 1938. My father was on the run. He was a public enemy of Nazi Germany. This is kind of tough for me to talk about, but it's so personal. But anyway, most of all my father's immediate family was executed in Nazi Germany. And so my father had a bit of great success early on in his life, from the age of 16 on. And so he was already out of Vienna, Austria at the time when Nazi Germany occupied during World War II. And my father could not get back in because he was noted as a public enemy of the state of Nazi Germany. Oh, wow. And he took off first to England and was receiving death threats there. And then he fled to Canada, and then which thereafter he came down to the United States and joined the United States Navy, became a citizen. He was labeled as just a private in the US Navy and also a naval artist. And it's exactly then that he got the top secret photograph of the flag raising. The flag raising of Iwo Jima, which he was then immediately inspired to do a clay model. And it was interesting when that happened. He didn't have any, he was only painting at the time. He had done plenty of sculpture, but he was on painting assignments for the US Navy he was doing a painting of the Coral Sea at the time, and he was depicting the history of World War II as a naval artist for the United States government. And so when that picture came over the wire, he didn't have any traditional sculpting clay, and he used floor wax to create the first small scale model of the monument, and then presented it to his superior officer at the time. And within 2 weeks, he was in the White House with Harry S. Truman. And it was then commissioned to be a national monument. So my father's feelings, to get back to your question, you could imagine he was, here he was running for his life, and the United States took him in, certainly Canada and then the United States. And I think his feeling of making that monument was so inspirational because it was in retrospect to what was going on in his life at the time during World War II. And for a good 5 or 6 years, my father didn't know if his family was still alive or not. And so, personally to me, it's very emotional. It's very hard for me to talk about. So just from seeing my father be emotional about sharing stories with me about his family, and certainly being able to give back such an iconic monument, because I think it was very cathartic and healing for my father to have such a reception of his work to this country. And then certainly his career took off thereafter. So yeah, it was very personal to him, very personal to me.
And that's unbelievable, Daniel. And I'm sorry if we, offended you in any way in asking you that.
No way.
I know.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable story, and I know you're very proud of him, and I'm sure he's super proud of you, and that's just an unbelievable story. So thank you, so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Ben.
And it's really good. It's really going to be a great movie. Yeah, so
I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Thank you for saying.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. So kind of want to go again back to your DeMatha days. Did you have, any favorite teachers, maybe favorite classes during your high school days here, or any, maybe any that stuck out to you?
Absolutely. That is as the other questions were good questions, that's a tough question because all the teachers at DeMatha were inspirational to me.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, just a tremendous opportunity to be accepted at DeMatha, when I was a young man. And certainly teachers that stood out to me were Mr. Macheski, which he may not, I don't know if he's still teaching today, but
he's not teaching now.
He taught world history. Mr. McGregor, who was DeMatha's football coach, who was a tremendous inspiration to me in English class. Father Burke, who may not be there any longer, was a huge inspiration. Let me think who else stood out to me. Certainly Dr. Buck Offit, which I'm sure you guys have caught the history of who he is. He's passed on. So yeah, just a huge inspiration to me. And who stands out a lot to me, probably the most, is Father James, who was so supportive of me when I was a young man at DeMatha. And I don't think if it wasn't for DeMatha, I don't know if I would still be sitting here today. But,
and he was your counselor, correct, David?
Yes, he was one of the high school counselors, and just an incredible support to me, and really took notice and participated in my time at DeMatha, along with all the faculty.
That's fantastic. Yeah, he's obviously the president of DeMatha now, and I'm, me and Connor are fortunate enough to, he works with us in the advancement office as well. So we're fortunate enough to see him, day in and day out. I know exactly what you're talking about. DeMatha is very lucky to have him, and all the other teachers as well. I mean, there's something, I say in the water at DeMatha where these teachers come and they stay for a long time. You see a lot of schools, teachers are in and out. But we have a wall at DeMatha. It's, teachers and staff that have stayed there for 20 years or longer, and it's filled. I mean, it's crazy. People they come here and they stay, and they love it. So I think that's a testament to DeMatha as an institution for sure.
And I wanted to add too, Ben, just the tremendous support from DeMatha for me presently now. I mean, DeMatha has reached out to me so many numerous times and has been so supportive. So thank you guys for that.
Of course.
You know,
Daniel, interestingly enough, we have the DeMatha players, our acting group on campus. They're about to perform tonight. So what would you tell a current DeMatha student who is interested in maybe trying to pursue acting, screenwriting, directing, trying to pursue a similar career that you have? What would be some advice you'd give to them?
well, first off, I would say education is imperative. Training is imperative. And as you train, you start, just like any profession in life, training is imperative because you mature as you go along, but the training will always be the foundation for any profession, but particularly for acting or writing or producing. Really having the knowledge, the up-to-date knowledge of what's going on in the industry, really embodying, doing plays as much as possible, theatrical plays, was my biggest influence. Because even then when I transitioned into doing film, it was almost as if I was starting over, because the camera is so sensitive. The camera sees everything, just as the observer, whoever's watching the actor on camera. So I think that it's very important if the student of wanting to be an actor is truly interested in having a long career, the training is imperative, because otherwise you get caught in playing cliches and stereotypes and things like that. And so it's very important to delve deep into the training, because that then will reciprocate itself back into the actor, into themselves, to understand who they are and to actually eventually be able to share themselves on camera or as an artist that's truly authentic, without covering or playing stereotypes or things like that. So yeah, my best answer is training.
Yeah, that's terrific. Thank you, David. Or Daniel, sorry. The last I'll let you go here. I'm curious. I know you're, involved in, you've been involved in TV series, film. You've been on stage, producing, directing. What's like, if you could only do one? I know that might be not a fair question to ask. What's like your favorite? What would be your favorite? Like, what's the number one? Like, would you rather be on TV, in a movie, producing, on stage? What's kind of your favorite? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, well, they all serve the purpose for me as an artist, as a player, as an actor. But I think in terms of being able to keep doing this business, it's important to make money. So the money is in TV and film, and then you certainly are earning an income, and you're also practicing, again, training. So I would say television and film, certainly film, because I think film, TV today is pretty much dominating over film. I don't know if there's going to be many movie theaters in the next 5 to 10 years, but
Right.
but yeah, I think anything that's TV or film that's able to highlight and be very transparent, because again, the camera is so sensitive, and I think it speaks to a much wider audience, and you can reach more people. And I'm the kind of artist that, again, I'm inspired to do projects that are, whether I'm playing the antagonist or the protagonist, I'm inspired to inspire humanity, to inspire the audience, in a true heroic journey where the observer can watch and feel, and then certainly heal from the experience of watching the story. So yeah, I would say television or film would be my favorite.
Awesome. Well, I think that'll conclude our afternoon with you, Daniel. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us today and to answer some questions. We're huge fans of you, not only here in DeMatha, but in Maryland as well. So you make the DeMatha community very proud, and keep up the great work. Obviously, if you're ever by, if you're ever in Hyattsville, DC area, please stop by, say hello.
Absolutely.
We'd
Absolutely.
love to see you. And then again, yeah, whenever I come down to California again, I will make sure to give you a
Absolutely.
text, 'cause that'd be awesome. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much. I appreciate you guys, and really great questions, and go Stags.
Go Stags, baby.
Definitely.
All right, Daniel. Have a great
All right, take
weekend.
care.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Daniel.
You guys too. Take care. Take care.